Hey everybody, welcome into Locked On Astros. I'm Htown Wheelhouse, and if you're listening to this on Thanksgiving Day, happy Thanksgiving. Hope you are able to celebrate with friends and family. Look, I'm thankful for all of y'all. We're going to talk about a fan proposal. I did a little tweaking of the fan proposal, and I'll explain why here in a second. The site I used, Bregman's Real Market, is it in Detroit, Houston, or Boston? Answers lie in the South Side or with Chicago. We'll have to see. Deferred madness and so much more. Let's get started.
Jainer Diaz, this is Locked On Astros.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chancey.
Hey, thank y'all for tuning in. I'm Htown Wheelhouse. This is your most downloaded Astros podcast on the planet. Thank y'all for hanging out. Thank y'all for coming in at 10:38 p.m. If you're listening to me on Thanksgiving Day, I really hope things are well. I hope you have safe travel. I know people up in the north and the west are having some pretty adverse weather. So if you are traveling to see friends and family, please be safe. Please celebrate responsibly. And make sure that you don't eat too much turkey. But if you do, make sure there's a spot on the couch to chill out and rest. Just want to say thank y'all for tuning in. I'm so thankful for y'all tuning in to Locked On Astros. Look, every single day we got you covered. FanDuel is our amazing sponsor today. And what we bring y'all as the title sponsor, you have a chance for a big return with them. When you place a $5 bet and you win, you will get $150 in bonus bets with FanDuel.com. Get started today. So, hey, let's get into it. There's a couple things that I want to talk to y'all about. And there was a fan proposal. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lead with what the actual proposal was given to me as. And then I went to the Major League Values. It's called, the website is Baseball Trade Values, and I have a membership there, and I'm able to post trades. But when I put the trade in that this fan offered, Steven Velasquez, it kicked back a pretty lopsided negative trade that I don't think any club would take, and it has to do with the value of the people he was talking about. So there was a trade proposed by MLB, by Fox on MLB. And I got a message from Steven Velasquez, and he says, hey, remember when I made this almost exact trade? And what the trade shows, it says a blockbuster trade for Black Friday. Cubs acquire, and this is between the Cubs and the Blue Jays. Cubs acquire Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Kevin Gausman. The Blue Jays acquire Michael Busch, Cody Bellinger, and Cade Horton. Okay. Now, I know they have Michael Busch in here as a first baseman, but I went away from that because, well, we have to come up with who we're going to trade. So Mr. Velasquez, because I asked him who was the original trade with, and he said Framber Valdez, Jake Myers, Lance McCullers Jr., and get Cody Bellinger and some of the same guys. So I initially put that trade in there, and Lance McCullers Jr. just has no value. I mean, he's like a negative 28, and it's because of the money he's getting. It's because he hasn't pitched in 2 years. So I pulled him out of the trade. Now, again, look, I'm not going to say we're stretching for, show topics because there's still plenty to talk about. But when I saw this and I had this conversation with him, I figured, you know what? Why not go ahead and Astros are nonstop. Are you Astros nonstop? Are you disappointed? Are y'all disappointed in me? You haven't been here since the Astros got eliminated. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Look, here's the deal. So we know about health and all that stuff, but this is what I did with the Major League Trade Values. I went ahead and I tweaked this fan trade. So this is Steve Velasquez trade with a little bit of mixture of Htown Wheelhouse, and literally because I was spending all day with family, I didn't ultra research this other than I tried to match up their values. Okay. So this is what I came up with. Okay. The Cubs would get Framber Valdez and Jake Myers. The Astros would get Porter Hodge, Cody Bellinger, and Cade Horton. Now, if you look up Porter Hodge and you look up Cade Horton, 23 and 22-year-old pitchers, it might take more from the Astros to get that, but that seemed to be a pretty fair trade. Now, I can show you the trade value numbers here. Again, I'm going to tell y'all what it is. I tweaked it where the Cubs get Framber and Jake Myers. The Astros get Porter Hodge, Cade Horton, and Cody Bellinger. Now, chances are you've got to give more than what you give with that because of the two pitching prospects. Now, here are their totals. You see the Astros are getting a 24.2 value versus giving a 26.9 value. So you're giving up a center fielder, you're giving up your starting pitcher, Framber Valdez. You're getting back Cody Bellinger, 29, who can play center field and first base. Cade Horton, who is in the minors, he's 22. And then Porter Hodge, who is in the majors. He's been here 5 years, but he had decent value. And so that right there would be closer and get you closer to what was proposed initially. Now, I would like to know what you guys think. I would love to get Wilmer back from the Red Sox. I hate that we let him go. But that was the trade that I did. And I'm telling you, if you go to baseball trade values and you sign up for membership, it's worth it. Like, you have different levels. They've got podcasts, they've got articles, they got all kinds of stuff. But I posted it. I haven't gotten any responses yet. I don't know how much hate it's going to get or how bad it sounds. But the bottom line is, y'all, we have got to get creative here. If the Cubs are desperate to get rid of Cody Bellinger, to offload him, he can play center field, he can play first base. I think in this lineup, he can be a very good addition offensively. His glove plays more than just one position. On top of that, if you can get even Hodge, even if you can get Porter Hodge in there, maybe Patrick Wisdom is a guy that you take a flyer on. I'll jump over to this. Cody Bellinger won't come to Houston. He said things about the Astros, and I get that, West Texas Mark. But let's let bygones be bygones. And here you go. This Corbin kind of offers a counter. I'll just say Bellinger will cover up everything in center field, both from an offensive and defensive perspective, plus his versatility on outfield, and he plays first base. Exactly. Now, let me jump to Bregman real quick, and we'll get back on this. Mr. Rashad is asking, is it true Breggy is seeking a $350 million contract? I think, just like Chandler Rome said, if you watch the show, which most of y'all did, what did Chandler say? As an agent, you're not going to go middle of the road. You're going to aim really high. And so you're going to tell people, you remember the deal Machado got? That's what we're looking for. 11 years, 350. Is he going to get it? No. Will he get 300 million? No. I think he gets 200 million max. The word on the street is that Bregman has been offered a 6-year deal around 165 from the Houston Astros. Not a year longer, not anymore. 26 million per year, I believe, is what it comes out to. Okay. And at the end of the day, Bregman's real market, I think, is Houston. I think is Boston. And I'm adding in the Detroit Tigers. The only problem is, does Bregman's bat play well in 81 games in that stadium in Detroit? I think he fits well with the rising team. I think he fits well with a veteran presence. I think he fits well because AJ Hinch is the manager. The guy has playoff, I almost said stigma. He has just that playoff vibe. He has that clutch gene in him. And that may be a place where he goes. Will the Tigers offer him $205 million? Will they offer him $210 million? but give Bregman 7 years, $200 million, but defer the money. I'm going to talk about the deferments in a second. Oh my gosh, because I feel a certain kind of way about deferred contracts, a certain kind of way about deferred contracts, and it's not good, but I've heard a major leaguer give me a counter to it, and I might be more on his side. If the Astros can get Bregman's deal past Chapman's deal, I'm good. Right. Look, I don't mind them offering them over what Chapman got, but I do not see Crane going a full 7 years. But with that being said, I want to tell y'all about our amazing sponsor, FanDuel. Let's talk about them. Look, you've heard me talk about America's #1 sportsbook, FanDuel. Get ready to tackle NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. If you're sitting there eating some turkey, eating that stuffing, eating that cranberry sauce, and you get a hunch while you're watching the game, you can look at the play-by-play action right there on your app. You don't need to sneak out of the room and go to the computer. Just go to your phone, tap it in, see what's going on. Much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com and join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch, and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner to the NFL. All right, let me say thank y'all for tuning in to Locked On Astros. I'm Htown Wheelhouse. This is Locked On Astros, your most downloaded Astros podcast on the planet. Because of you, the fans, you are the real MVP. Today, I've got to take a second to say how thankful I am. I had my mom, my dad, my stepmom. I had my daughter. I had my grandson. I had 3 of my nephews. I had a niece and a nephew not there. It was, my sister was here. It was an amazing day. And guess what? I put myself in charge of cooking pretty much everything, and I didn't realize it. I prepared the turkey. I made my first homemade cranberry sauce, my first homemade stuffing, my first homemade pumpkin pie, 2 of them. And sweet potato casserole, made it all on my own. And it actually turned out really good. So thank you, God, for giving me the right ingredients and everything. It was great. So I hope that when y'all are listening to this, that y'all are able to have the same kind of joy that I've had. Now, I know the holidays aren't great for everybody. And if it's tough for you, we want you to know that that we're behind you, and that we're here for you, and that we're thankful for you. So don't ever feel like you're on an island by yourself. All right, so let me get back. Enough of the pleasantries. The south side of Chicago versus the Chicago Cubs. Who are we going to go after? There is an interesting name, and not so much interesting, but a name that I think might be worth looking at. There is a high risk, but I think a high reward that follows that high risk for third base if we are talking about Alex Bregman not coming back. And I was talking with our friend Phil Seelig, who goes by Cuba Dugout on X, and he recounted some stuff about Luis Robert Jr. I know the guy's been riddled with injuries. We started talking about Luis Robert Jr. Then I threw out there, I said, do you think the Astros will seemingly make a high risk, high reward trade with with the White Sox? And he said, I'm more curious if Bregman walks, do the Astros take a flyer on Moncada? And I said, Eric has mentioned Yohan Moncada, and I think he would be great. Zach Neto is not bad. But this is what he said. He said, according to him, my instinct feels more like a Pittsburgh or Miami 1 year, $5 to $10 million. And if he plays, they will flip him to a contender at the deadline. So who knows? Maybe let's say Bregman walks, and let's say they fill in DeCenzo, Dubon, whoever at third. And at the trade deadline, if they're really firing on all cylinders, maybe they trade for Moncada. Maybe Moncada comes out and Yohan Moncada is healthy the first half of the season. And at the trade deadline, why don't we go and grab him at the trade deadline? The guy's a market value of like 1.8 million. It's really not that high, but someone's going to pay him between 5 and 10. Yoan Moncada, we might go to the south side. The south side is they are looking to offload people. They are almost in a yard sale type mode. What other players on that team could we go after? I think Crochet would be way too high of a ceiling to go after, but that seems like it might be a decent trade. So let's do some review. Fan proposal, I tweaked that a little bit. Again, I'll show you guys what I thought would work, and some people that know baseball better than me may shoot this down. Cody Bellinger, Cade Horton, and Porter Hodge. Now, that may be too much pitching in one trade to only get back Framber Valdez, Jake Myers. You probably have to throw in, maybe you could see if Ryan Presley is willing to waive his no trade clause. You could throw in Presley. I wouldn't mind that. Maybe this Hodge guy or maybe this Horton guy could come in, be a setup guy. I don't know. There's all kinds of different things we could do with that. Bregman's real market, I think, is Houston, Boston, Detroit. I think it's coming down to Houston and Detroit. I believe he ends up in Houston, but that's what I think. And then the south side of Chicago, I believe that there might be a possibility, a dark horse candidate that we could trade for in the south side of Chicago. But who would we go after? Right here, Corbin saying Moncada wouldn't be so bad, but it's his consistency with him and his health. Exactly. So Corbin, to kind of reemphasize or to emphasize something that Phil brought up with him, was if Moncada can return to 2019 form before the injuries and be the top prospect that he was when he first came up, I believe, with the Red Sox, then you could really do something well with him, because Moncada is not very old. Moncada's still pretty young. And it would really honestly make sense to get him. And so it's just one of those things. You also, Luis Robert Jr. is only 27, guys. Is this guy done? I mean, look at Jurickson Profar. Jurickson Profar might be a harder worker than Luis Robert Jr. Luis Robert Jr. plays a little lazy in the field. Maybe he needs a mindset change. But there are these guys that the Astros are going to have to get creative with, especially in the outfield, because it sounds like they're not sold on Jake. And it sure as heck sounds like that they have more confidence in McCormick. So Jake Myers, I think, may be traded, maybe on the way out. Did Maldi get cut? I don't think Maldi's on a roster right now. Will you and Greg, you mentioned that we don't have a good enough farm to trade for Robert. The problem with Robert also is the amount of money that you have to be paying him. So I'm just saying there are some players on the south side that you could look at. Let's see. This is okay. We keep bringing up Naylor. Here we go. Brett, I've said this so many times. All the Astros got to do is try and extend Bregman, trade for Josh Naylor, trade for Luis Robert Jr., address outfield. Well, again, it's the cost, okay? And look, Texas USMC, this is what he wants. I want Arenado at first, and I want DeCenzo on third base, okay? The tough thing for the Astros is they don't have someone like Jeremy Pena that is ready to step up in place of Carlos Correa. We've never really had anybody replace George Springer, but I know people say bring Springer back, but Springer hasn't been great. Springer has been mediocre for the most part in Toronto. Could you somehow put a Framber Valdez in a trade where you get Vlad Guerrero Jr.? I don't know. Look, there's so many things we could do. But what in the world is going on with another deferred contract in LA? I don't get it. What is up with this deferred contracts? I mean, LA, can we stop deferring contracts? I thought that there were rules against clubs signing players to get around having to put them up against their competitive balance tax, so therefore they would stay under a certain number. This is what I think. If you're making $770 million in 10 years, okay, if that's $77 million a year, or you're making $690 million in over 10 years, that's $69 million a year, then I don't care if the club pays you $2 million or $1 million, that club should be charged the amount of money that it comes out to over the time, the years that the player is in the league, and not after. Sorry. I mean, it's way different than the Bobby Bonilla contract. I mean, it was like, well, it's just like Bobby Bonilla. Yeah, but that's pennies compared to what we're talking with Ohtani, what we're talking with Teoscar Hernandez signed that deferred deal. He's a free agent. He's still got 9 years of payments from the Dodgers, and the Dodgers won't really take that hit. It's just insane to me. And so then we get into this deferred madness where you're like, how many stars do we allow you to have deferred contracts with? You have it with Ohtani. You have it with Blake Snell now, $62 million bonus. But like, I think he's only getting paid like a few million in the first few years or so. It is madness. Now, although I'm really, really against it, there is one MLB player that says he thinks it is great for baseball because he thinks that it's going to force owners to spend more money. Okay. If the owners push for a salary cap, as I expect they will do, you're going to have a work stoppage. That is what Ken Rosenthal said. They are heading for, I think, a disaster with all these different things. And this is what Trevor May said on the Foul Territory podcast. This is what he says, $52 million bonus. Thank you. You've got to start working in the signing bonuses and deferment trade-offs. This is the new age of contracts, they say. This is what baseball is going to. And he says, unfortunately, if teams don't get into this deferred contracts and do what other teams are doing, then you know what? You're going to go behind. You're going to fall behind. Well, guess what, Astros fans? If that's what has to happen for us to move forward, then we're going to fall behind. Tickets do keep soaring. Yeah, look, that's okay. Keep throwing the price of tickets up. I'll just stay home and watch it. I actually get more of the game when I stay home, because imagine me going to a game and not talking to people, right? Corbin can attest to that. But here are the deferred. So there are deferred contracts that aren't Dodgers fans, though. Rafael Devers, $75 million until 2043. And I didn't realize this. Chris Sale, $50 million until 2036. Francisco Lindor, $50 million until 2041. Nolan Arenado, $50 million until 2041. Max Scherzer, $105 million until 2028. So this is a good point. This Yankees World guy says, why do people think that deferrals spawn into existence? I'll tell you why. Because there's one team that's doing it, making the headlines, and it's the LA Dodgers. And probably because they just won. And they've got a crazy rotation. But look, guys, why are we going to fret? Let's look at what and I talked about this the other day, our opening day rotation is going to be for the Houston Astros. As it stands right now, if we don't trade Framber, which I don't think we are, this is your starting rotation on opening day. Now, Lance McCullers Jr., I do not believe will be ready for opening day. If he is, that will be a miracle. Framber Valdez, Hunter Brown, Ronel Blanco, Spencer Arrighetti, Luis Garcia. 5 right there. You got 5 starters. I say you bring in another veteran starter, a mid-level guy, someone you don't have to pay a lot to. You lost Kikuchi. And the other day, let me just say something. And I didn't think about it when the words were leaving my face. But I said I thought the Astros, I think I said they should go 3 years, 60 million, and then I said 3 years, 63 million was an overpay, and that really sounded that was a horrible take. I think what I was intending on saying was that I figured the Astros would go 3 for 60. I had always suggested around 16 million. I would give him 16 for 3 years. I wouldn't give him, and then, I wouldn't give him the full 60. But just backtracking a little bit, I didn't realize how it was coming out or coming across. Obviously, 60 million was an overpay for him, but I thought the Astros might go at least 16 for 3. That would be 48 million. I would have given him 16 million for 3 years. I would have given him 48 million, but that is just me kind of correcting that. Justin Verlander, I don't see him coming back. I'm not giving Justin more than 12. I don't know what his market value is, but we've given him enough. I think he might kind of owe us some money, figuratively speaking. Hey, Justin, come back on a $10 million contract, 1-year deal, heavily incentivized. You get an extra 5 or 6 if you do your job properly. But let me ask you guys and girls this. Do you think there should be a salary cap or a salary floor? I think we have a world where both can exist. You need a salary floor to make sure teams are spending, but you also need a salary cap to make sure things aren't going over the roof. And when I say salary cap, if a team's willing to spend, they shouldn't be penalized for spending. That's why you have the competitive balance tax. But I think the biggest part is if you have one superstar deferred contract, you can't have more than one superstar deferred contract overlap 3 to 5 years. So if I have a deferred contract for a guy that I sign in 2023, right? I can't have another deferred contract until 2026 or 2027. I'm just saying that's what I would do. How about a max amount? Right. That's what I'm saying. Kind of in that, actually, Bob's Burgers. That's a great, look at that icon. I've actually never watched that show, but that is a great name there. That is actually a better idea than what I'm saying. A max amount of money deferred. So you have a max amount of money for international signing bonus. You have maximum amount of money for the draft, 4 different draft slots. So why not have a max amount? This is a tongue twister. A max amount of money for deferred money. I mean, that seems right. Well, Corbin, and you are correct. If there's a salary cap, there's probably going to be a lockout. I agree. But the bottom line is contracts. I keep saying this, salaries at some point cannot continue trending the way they're trending, because let's say Juan Soto gets 500, 600 million, right? The next generational player, they're going to get 800 million. Are we going to, in our lifetime, see the first billionaire player? We offered Correa over 30 per year. Look, Correa was never staying. Correa was a diva about it. Let's just be honest. Correa was a diva. I think Danielle wanted the money, which I don't blame her. Correa wanted generational wealth. I guess he got it. And that whole generational wealth thing really bugs me. Someone tried to have an argument with me one day and told me that 160 million was not generational, but 300 million was. Look, if 160 million is not generational wealth for you, then you've got a lot more problems than money. Oh my goodness. Miss Scott, no, we do not want this to happen. Miss Scott, please take that take. Please rethink what you just said. Give me 160 and I'll make it. Hey, you give me 1 million and I'll make it last generations. I'll make it last generations. Look, I'm going for generational wealth. Okay. To be honest, the salary cap, Corbin says, will help smaller to mid-market be more competitive on free agents, honestly. But here's the thing, though. I thought this whole thing was about making the field more competitive, but the rich keep getting richer. And I'm not an anti-rich guy person. I'm not like, tax the rich or eat the rich or whatever these people say, like they hate rich people. And I'm telling you, some of the nicest, most charitable people I've met in my life have got a ton of money. I don't care if you're rich or poor. You can be nice or a jerk. It doesn't matter. It's not the money that makes the person. It's the person that makes the money. And so at the end of the day, it does come down to things like greed. The last time there was a lockout, the Astros won the World Series. I still don't want a lockout. Ben comes in late. Konnichiwa from Joe. Hey, what's up, man? How's it going, Ben? Great to finally catch you live. You ordered your Sasaki Astros jersey yet? Oh, Ben, is there something that we don't know? I don't know that he's coming here. If he decides to post in January, there's a better chance. But before January, I don't think he is. Konnichiwa to you, sir. Thank you for joining us. Wow, from Japan. I absolutely love it. I would love nothing more than Sasaki to come to the Houston Astros on a minor league deal. It doesn't matter. But hey, guys, I've got to get out of here. This has been a great time. Thank y'all for tuning in. Almost 100 of y'all on the eve of Thanksgiving. Listen, I want you guys to have a happy, a safe, and a blessed Thanksgiving break. Thanksgiving holiday, however it is you celebrate the holidays, make sure that you take time to appreciate the things you have in life, to look in the mirror and thank the Lord that you have a breath, that you have life, and that, look, I'm always positive, always Stros. Why? Because guys like you and girls like you make our existence on this earth even sweeter, because we couldn't do it without Locked On Astros. And everybody else. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure you tell your friends about us. And please, y'all have a great one. We'll talk to you soon. I'm out. This is Htown Wheelhouse. I'm so thankful for y'all. Go Stros.